everybody, and welcome to another episode of All the WrestleManias. I'm your co-host, Tim Hackman.
And I'm Rich Sigwald.
And you guys are in for a treat. It is our 2022 year in review. That's right. It's our first ever year in review episode. This is not a clip show. Our goal is just to run down some of our year of watching and just absolutely obscene amounts of wrestling and podcasting about wrestling, and just talk through some of our favorites, not so favorites, relive the glory, some best and worst moments, matches, performers, etc., etc. So we thought it might just be kind of fun to revisit, and we're not going to make Rich, recut from all these old shows to find clips of us talking about this stuff. So we're just going to talk about it all anew, but in new and exciting ways.
Yeah, I'd rather murder myself than having to go back and listen to everything we've done.
Come on, man. We're the best show out there.
We might be the best show out there, but that doesn't mean I want to listen to myself
That's true.
bullshit about wrestling that much.
That's true. Speaking of us bullshitting about wrestling, we hope you enjoyed our most recent episodes on the Wrestle War 91 show. That was a great show. Had a absolutely stellar and bloody War Games match. We also hope you enjoyed the 1997 Survivor Series, a.k.a. the one with the Montreal Screwjob. Those were a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to record for you, so we hope you like listening to them. As always, if you want to send us your questions, your comments, your observations, your disagreements, whatever, you can find us on Twitter at WrestleManiaPod. You can shoot us an email at allthewrestlemanias@gmail.com. Obviously, find us on all the social medias, Facebook and Instagram. I think do we have a TikTok now? Am I remembering that correctly?
We do have a TikTok, but I don't know what I'm doing with it. I've only posted on it once, I think. So
we need a 13-year-old kid to help us get our TikTok channel off the ground.
We really do. We need, if you are a teenager and you know how to do the social medias, that'd be great.
Yeah, please help us. We are old. We're old, and we can't pay you, but you'll get amazing exposure. We'll mention your name on this podcast. It's listened to by literally tens of people.
It's worldwide. We had some downloads from Vietnam today, so
that's awesome. Shout out to our new friends in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Hope you guys are doing all right over there.
Whoever's running their VPN through Vietnam, thank you for downloading.
So I also wanted to mention that we had a great time recording with Jeff and Andy of the Turtle Wars podcast. They're a lot of fun, and they talk about pop culture, nerd stuff, and whatever else crosses their minds. You can find them online at turtlewars.net or on Twitter at @war_turtle, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. They also do theirs on YouTube, so you can find our episode, which drops the same day as this episode. Hopefully that is Friday, December 23rd, if all goes according to plan and Santa keeps us on the right list. And if you want to find it on the YouTubes, you can actually see what we look like when we're podcasting. It's an experience you won't soon forget.
No, they were a lot of fun to work with and to talk with, and yeah, we overloaded them. Like, they learned not to ask two wrestling nerds about wrestling.
I think we maybe scared them a little bit.
I think so, because I mean, I haven't heard anything from them. Have you heard anything from them since? No. Okay. So when they're like, we're hoping that this will go about 30 minutes, an hour and a half later, they're like, all right, well.
Jeff literally had to cut us off, saying, "Hey, my laptop is almost out of juice," which I think was a lie. I could clearly see the cord. It was just
it was fine.
It was a good excuse.
It's just like, I gotta go wash my cat. I gotta, I gotta feed the pig and
get some water from the well.
My laptop's dying, and
he's frantically texting his wife to come knock on the door and interrupt him.
Please get me out of here.
No, that was fun though. I had a good time. Actually, Jeff's boss the next day, I ran into him at work, and he's like, "Hey, heard the podcast was a good time." I'm like, "Yeah." So I'm guessing Jeff called off sick that day and just told him that we blew up his brain with wrestling knowledge, and he couldn't come to work.
He sat at home just watching clips of Doink the Clown and Razor Ramon and Bret Hart all day.
Man, I hope that happened. So anyway, so give the guys at Turtle Wars podcast a listen, and we'll try to get them over here on the show. Maybe force them to watch some wrestling before they come over, and
Yeah.
then
I would love to have them watch WrestleMania 3 with us.
Oh man,
I think that's going to be the one.
That would be great. I'd be all into that. So thanks, guys. We hope you enjoy their episode if you check it out. So, all right, are we ready to talk the year in review? Did you bring any like those little honker things or the party hats, like the New Year's glasses or anything?
No, and I could try to sing Auld Lang Syne for you, but I don't think that's going to go well. So,
okay, that's all right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right. You can sing it in like a super thick Scottish accent in honor of Robert Burns.
I got something that might be fun on my phone here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Attention! On the WrestleMania 22-year in review. All right. So we had a hell of a year, you guys. This was a lot. We had a lot of fun. Obviously, we like goofing off on the microphone. Just, I mean, mostly for our own sake, but we'll put it out there. We recorded 36 regular episodes. That's not counting like the little teasers and trailers and some of the little brief ad spots that we did, but 36 full episodes, and they run easily an hour each. So that's a good amount of airtime.
Yeah, and a lot of voice time, a lot of editing time. But I've learned a lot. I learned a lot about how to do the editing, splicing, and clipping, and I learned about Tim's stutter, and I learned about my ums and how I like to start with "it's really interesting," or and so. So it's eye-opening to listen to your voice that much and to listen to your friend's voice that much.
Well, we appreciate you doing all the editing for us. So we watched 13 WrestleManias this year, if you can believe it. We started with number 17 when we kind of switched over from the blog to the podcast. The last one in continuity was number 25. And then on top of that, we went back and revisited WrestleManias 1, 7, and 8. And WrestleMania 38 happened this year, so we watched all 2 nights of that, unfortunately, and we did both preview and recap episodes for that. So is that double duty? Does that count twice? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it should, because I humiliated myself and got every single prediction wrong, I think. So that was top notch.
Yeah. Well, who says WWE is boring and unpredictable, right?
Right. It's mixing up now, and that's why we still watch.
And then we also did a retrospective episode where we talked about WrestleManias 11 through 20. So, and then on top of that, we did 10 other WWE shows. There was a Wrestling Classic. There was a Smack 'em Whack 'em VHS tape that was suggested by a listener. The Battle Royal at Royal Albert Hall. There were 2 Royal Rumbles. We did 92 and 96. Monday Night Raw episodes 1 and 2. Survivor Series 97. And let's see, what else? Also 2 We Were There episodes for WWE events, including the King of the Ring 94, where Rich was just a young lad, and Capital Punishment 2011, where I was not a young lad and should have known better. So that's a lot of WWE wrestling. We also did a profile of Demolition. We did one AEW preview episode for the All Out pay-per-view. Most interesting for me, I think, were the 6 NWA/WCW shows that we did. We did Starrcade 85, the Chi-Town Rumble 89, Wrestle War 89 and 91, Super Brawl 3, Halloween Havoc 97, and then an AWA show, Wrestle Rock 86.
Yeah, I mean, those shows were fun to watch just because they're professional wrestling, just like WWF/WWE at the time, but they look so different, and the way everything acts is so different, and like the ring logic is different, and the storytelling is different. The whole approach to the concept of professional wrestling is different in those shows. So it broadens your spectrum to watch those shows, and also introduces you to a lot of talent that you might not have ever heard of or seen before, or gain new appreciation for talents that you only knew one way. So I hadn't really seen a lot of Mike Rotunda except for as IRS, and I liked him as IRS, but suddenly seeing him wrestle as Mike Rotunda in Varsity Club and stuff like that, or like the boat captain, like it's eye-opening. He had totally different style. He worked different. He worked faster. Like, it's incredible to get that kind of exposure. And the same with the Steiner brothers. The Steiner brothers were totally different in the NWA shows than they are in their brief WWF run. So
really grossly, maybe even criminally underused in WWE, WWF when they came over, but just absolute units and maniacs in some of those WCW shows. The AWA show was maybe one of the most amusing ones, because that's definitely the one with the lowest production values.
Oh my God, yeah.
Even lower than Wrestle War 91's, rickety cage of death. The AWA one looks like it was shot on like a handheld VHS video camera.
The quarter-filled Metrodome.
It's so bad.
And it's like, it's in the middle of the day. It's just like everything's weird. It's like cut weird to where you think that the last match they show wasn't the actual live main event of the night, but it was. But it just doesn't seem like it is. That show is spectacular, and then you get upset because they end it before letting you see the Waylon Jennings concert.
I know. What a bummer.
But then also the thing's already like 3.5 hours long, and then you got to sit through a Waylon Jennings concert. Like, that's a commitment to a day right there.
Also, Larry Zbyszko has a ninja. Just never forget. So, and then on top of all that, we did 4 episodes that we call popcorn matches. So those are just little asides, kind of about things that we're interested in. I went through a interstate move, a new job. So Rich ended up doing a couple of those by himself, which I really appreciate. And we, it's because we care. We try to get the content out there. So we did, Rich did one on classical music and pro wrestling. We did one together on black representation. I thought that one was a really good episode.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot.
Did a profile of the Anoa'i family, and he did a nice tribute to Scott Hall following Mr. Hall's passing. So that's the 36 episodes. And on top of all that, if that wasn't enough, Rich watched like 400 episodes of Monday Night Raw. And any other lessons learned after Raw 1 and 2?
Well, it's interesting to watch Ric Flair come and go. Like, Ric Flair is gone episode 3 of Raw. That's when he departs. So that was kind of a weird, like, jarring kind of thing. And you could tell that he didn't really seem to be fitting in the puzzle pieces anymore at what they were going with Monday Night Raw, at least. And then the rise of Doink the Clown and the shenanigans of Doink the Clown on Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw was made for Doink the Clown and for Razor Ramon. They're there every week, pretty much, and they've got compelling storylines happening on the air. I'm up to like July. I'm up to the episode right before the Body Slam challenge on the USS Intrepid, where Lex Luger shows up to slam Yokozuna. It's still weird to hear. There's a couple episodes where Gorilla Monsoon does the play-by-play of Monday Night Raw, and it's just like, what are you doing here? You're not the voice of Raw. And you get very tired of Vince McMahon. You realize how bad of a commentator Vince McMahon is, because all he says, "What a maneuver! 1, 2, 3, he got him!" No, that's just on loop constantly. While Macho Man is just being a consummate professional and nice guy. And the show gets a lot better when Rob Bartlett's gone. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, maybe we can come back and do some more Raw episodes. That was fun when we did episode 1 and 2. Maybe we can pick like a key moment in time and do like 2 episodes around that or something like that. That might be fun to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we also saw a bunch of live wrestling this year, just again in the interest of our craft, our devotion to this endeavor. We went to 2 Baltimore Celeb Fests. Rich went to 2. I went to 1. We met some of our favorites, including Bret Hart, for which I'll be eternally jealous. Sting. I met Greg the Hammer Valentine. Haku, Danhausen, Dante Martin, Demolition, Rikishi, probably a bunch of others. I'm not Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yeah.
Met the Lucha brothers, the Penta and Phoenix. Lots of cool folks.
Yeah, and I rejected Jeff Jarrett, which was a lot of fun.
You, Jeff Jarrett.
And you met the guy that plays the Iron Sheik on the Young Rock.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That dude was super nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that was those events are a lot of fun.
I met the Ass Boys too.
Oh yeah, you met the Ass Boys. Yeah. I'm thinking about going to 6, but it's a long drive from here, and also the only real person that's pulling me there is that Magnum TA is going to be there.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I kind of want. I don't know if that would be sad or not. Like.
Yeah, the greatest that could have been.
Right.
Yeah. Oh well.
So. Okay. We also saw 4 AEW Dynamite shows. Rich and I saw one together in DC at the Sports Complex down in Southeast, where the Washington Mystics play. We saw one together at UMBC in Baltimore. That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I saw one here in Norfolk, and Rich saw one maybe a week or so after that back up in Baltimore at UMBC. So those are always fun shows. And we think we talked about a couple of those on the program, like immediately after we had been.
Because again, Dynamite's a whole different creature live than it is on TV. For some reason, there's this a lot more energy to it, and I just love going to their shows and to the Ring of Honor shows. They were always a blast. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just the stripped down production and the simplicity of it, and like there's constant action happening live. So they're a lot of fun and a good bargain for your money too when it comes to wrestling, as opposed to like. So this year you went to a Monday Night Raw and a Dynamite. Which one did you enjoy more?
They're very different. One thing I will give AEW credit for the live audience is that they keep the show moving, and there's always something going on even when they're on commercial break. Whereas Raw, when you see it live, there's so much standing around, which I sort of expected, because if you watch Raw on TV, you're like, that guy must have been standing in the ring for like 15 fucking minutes. And then, when they come back from commercial break and they go to a promo and then they go to another promo and then they come back and the guy's still standing there. I always wonder, like, what the hell is the crowd doing during that time? Well, I'll tell you what the crowd's doing is they're sitting there staring at these guys in the ring, and the lights are out in the ring, and you're supposed to be watching the video, but there's people down there and they're just hanging out in the ring for like seriously 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, it sounds like that conundrum of like when you have lawn seats at a concert. Do you watch the big screen, or do you squint and stare down at the stage to watch the performer like live? Like, what do you do? Which like, you've put a wrestler in the ring in front of me, but I'm not supposed to watch him.
Right. There's just all this other stuff going on. I will say some of the actual wrestling on that Monday Night Raw was phenomenal, including really the Street Profits came back and had a really good match with Chad Gable and Otis. That was probably one of the better ones I've seen. And Becky Lynch came out early in the show and did some interaction with the fans. So that was a lot of fun. She went out in the crowd, and you may have seen it on TV, I don't know. She went out in the crowd and asked this guy his name, and he says Bobby, and then the whole crowd starts chanting for Bobby.
Nice.
It was really, she was like getting into it, and then Bailey came out, and they ended up actually fighting out onto the concourse. And I was talking to somebody who said he was there, and he was a little late getting in, and he actually couldn't get to his seat because they had it blocked off for the girls to come out and fight on the concourse and wreck the merch stand and stuff.
Did anyone bounce their head off the concrete floor and
Not that I saw.
Cross-eyed?
Not that I saw. And so
no one climbed the giant scissor lift and then tried to do a crazy suplex off of it or anything.
Yeah, that's it. They do take better care of their people than AEW does. It's a much more professional feeling show. Obviously, AEW still feels a little bit like kind of the bargain basement. But I enjoyed both of them for different reasons. Going to Monday Night Raw is a much bigger production. Like, I don't know, there's just more people. It's a bigger venue. There's just more rules and all that nonsense, and it's just a whole thing. Whereas AEW was, I don't know, it was a smaller place, a little more casual. It was right next to the college campus where I work.
Yeah.
And then I also saw one local show, which I like to do. It was a Virginia Championship Wrestling show called Liberty Lottery. It was in July, and the only sort of famous person on the card was what's his face, Junior Pillman, Brian Pillman Jr. Yeah, which I'll mention during one of our lists a little bit later. That's that. Any other notable wrestling content? We also watched a good bit of like wrestling related shows, interviews, YouTube videos.
Oh my God.
Memes.
Constant the memes and the whole fake story of Hulk Hogan masturbating on a bus.
Oh my God.
And all the memes that still continue to come out about Hulk Hogan cranking his hog on a bus.
It's my favorite fake news story of the year.
It's so niche, and probably no one that listens knows what the hell I'm talking about. But there's this meme group, like useless wrestling memes or something like that on Facebook, that someone on there said that Hulk Hogan was caught on a bus touching himself, and the memes have run away from that.
Yeah. It's the storming Area 51 of 2022.
Yeah.
Late 2022. Run. Yeah. Just from our legal department, we should note that there's no evidence that Hulk Hogan was caught cranking his hog on a bus, city or otherwise. This is a rumor that was started on the internet, in which some undesirable people have used to create memes about Hulk Hogan cranking his hog on a city bus.
That are hilarious. They're amazing memes.
So just maybe Google Hulk Hogan masturbate bus.
You'll find
You'll find some memes. Or send us an email. We'll package them up in a zip file and send them to you. All right, so we got a lot of like superlatives here, a lot of lists. Usually we do like sort of a rundown of events, and we talk about the different matches and what we liked and didn't like, and then at the end we wrap and say, oh, okay, best match, worst match, oh shit moment, etc., etc. But this show, you guys like that part so much. This show is all lists, so we're creating listicles. Is that still a thing?
This is the listicle episode. You won't believe number 27.
The listicles hang right below your hog, just FYI.
Yeah, you got your hog and your listicles. It's a whole family.
Do you want to start with our favorite events that we watched this year?
Yeah, we can do that. So my favorite event, I think, by far, was Starrcade 85, The Gathering.
That was a really solid one. What did you like about that one?
It had... it has the Magnum TA versus Tully Blanchard match. It has Dusty Rhodes beating Ric Flair. It had the Crusher Khrushchev. We love him. And the bloody match between Manny Fernandez and Abdullah the Butcher.
Oh my God,
where like they ring the bell and Abdullah immediately pulls out the fork, like, because it's a no holds barred match. So he's going to give it to him. He's going to rough him up real fast, real quick. This event, for some reason, I just loved it so much.
Yeah, it lives inside your brain rent free, I would say, right? Like, it's just, I'm just sitting around and just suddenly think about Tully and Magnum in that cage.
Yeah.
Or something.
Like gashing his head open with the wood chair splinters.
Man. That was a really good one. I think if I had to pick an absolute favorite, it would probably be the Chi-Town Rumble 89. I think, first of all, it's maybe one of the first like NWA shows I've ever sat down and watched. And so that part was very notable for me. Has some absolutely amazing talent. Their Sting is there. Hacksaw Butch Reed is there. The Midnight Express and the original Midnight Express are fighting in a very convoluted thing. In terms of sort of standout matches, though, there's Mike Rotunda versus Rick Steiner, which is an all-timer. If it's not a shoot, it's the next best thing. Lex Luger versus Barry Windham, the Road Warriors versus Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and Kevin Sullivan. It's just beating every living fuck out of each other. And then, of course, the coup de grace, the Ric Flair versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. It's just an absolute all-timer. So that card has a few duds in there in between, but like overall, I don't think you could really beat it.
No, that show is also top notch. It was very close between the Starrcade 85 and that one for me, but I think because I felt that there were no duds on the Starrcade 85 except for maybe the Khrushchev Sam Houston match, but that was only because it went too long as opposed to being bad. So I think that's why my loyalty went to that one.
Yeah, that's fair. Did you pick a runner-up? I don't know.
Yeah, the runner-up was going to be the Chi-Town Rumble for me. All those beat all the WrestleManias that we watched, in my opinion, too.
Yeah, I would agree. And you may even have to go down to like 4 or 5 on the card to get a WrestleMania into the mix. The one that for me would probably come closest was WrestleMania 8, but that's mainly on the strength of 2 matches. That's the one that has Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper, and also has the Ric Flair versus Randy Macho Man Savage match. That's just an absolute piece of brilliance. So
yeah, that I if we were going to talk about our favorite WrestleManias that we watched in this run so far, it's probably going to be WrestleMania 8 because of that. Those two matches drag it up. But I mean, Undertaker versus Jake Roberts on that card was pretty good too. Tatanka versus Rick Martel was all right. Owen made real quick work of Skinner. And we have Hulk Hogan being a dick, which is a typical WrestleMania. So
yeah, it's funny. All right, so what about the worst events that we watched this year?
Capital Punishment 2011.
Yeah,
I don't even need to hesitate. I didn't even need to click back to my notes. Boy. Ooh.
Yeah. So it was a tie for me. It was a tie between Capital Punishment 2011 and the VCW Liberty Lottery, where I caught COVID.
Oh, the poor indie guys! You're picking on them.
Yeah, it's not their fault I caught COVID. I didn't wear a mask, which I knew at the time was fucking stupid. But
no one else there is wearing a mask. What's the point?
No, right?
It doesn't help. So,
Capital Punishment was terrible. I'm sorry.
Capital Punishment was a bomb. I mean, the only match on it that I liked was CM Punk versus Rey Mysterio, and I guess the Ezekiel Jackson versus Wade Barrett was decent.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But then everything else on that card, junk.
Did you pick a worst WrestleMania?
Boy, that's a tough one.
I'll tell you mine while I'm thinking about it, or while you're thinking about it. Mine was 23. It's got a boring Cena versus Triple H main event. It's got the Playboy pillow fight. It's got Booker T versus the Boogeyman. There's a triple threat match, and there's Shawn Michaels versus the various McMahons, all of which just adds up to a giant steaming turd.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, that the only saving grace of that show was Chris Benoit versus MVP.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was a good one.
And I mean, Lashley versus Umaga was good, but I didn't like why they were fighting.
Yeah.
So yeah, the rest of this is you can take it. I don't want. And then like they have the nerve to put Ric Flair in a tag match with Carlito as a dark match.
Yeah. Embarrassing.
Get out of here.
I picked WrestleMania 17 as my most overrated. That's the one that has the least interesting Rock versus Stone Cold match. It's also got a Triple H main event, which
I just don't get it with him.
Yeah. And then I also put down, so I had a much easier time coming up with bad events than good events. I also put down WrestleMania 38 Backlash, which was one of the interminable pay-per-views that happened this year. It was basically WrestleMania Night 3.
Oh, right. They basically just redid WrestleMania.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah.
But not enough people remember that to even talk about it. So
no.
We'll keep moving. Let's see. We're going to talk best matches.
Yeah, I've separated mine out between favorite non-WrestleMania matches and favorite WrestleMania matches.
Okay. And I tried to keep mine short, but I ended up, there's like 20 matches on this list. I actually, I'm terrible at this. I actually ended up separating out Ric Flair matches, Bret Hart matches, and Kurt Angle matches. And then Eddie Guerrero matches, which actually turned out to be Eddie
All of
Guerrero
them?
versus Rey Mysterio from 97, and then Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero from WrestleMania 21. I didn't do such a good job. All right, yeah. Let's do WrestleMania matches
All right. I mean,
first,
that's
and
in
then
our
we can,
title, right?
yeah, maybe we can alternate in no particular order.
All right. So in no particular order, the first one I got here, favorite WrestleMania matches, is from WrestleMania 24, and that is Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair.
Oh yeah,
The storytelling in that match is incredible. It's one of those matches, if you're not going to go back and watch WrestleMania 3 for the storytelling between Andre and Hogan, you watch WrestleMania 24 if they want to watch something newer, to see Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair and the quote unquote retirement of Ric Flair match. That beautiful, wonderful match.
yeah, that was a beautiful match. I usually think about wrestling matches that could bring a tear to your eye, but that one's in the running for sure.
When Shawn mouths "I'm sorry" to Ric Flair right before kicking him right in the throat.
Says, "I'm sorry, I love you."
Yeah.
Bam. Harsh. All right. Well, sticking with WrestleManias and Ric Flair, I'm going to say Ric Flair versus Randy Savage from WrestleMania 8, which we've talked about at length multiple times. Both of those guys at different points in the match just go flying over the top ropes, and we're pretty sure they're going to die. They don't. Amazing match. Amazing.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
And you have the spectacle between Elizabeth and Sensational Sherry and stuff like that happening on the outside of the ring too, right? With that, like, it's just, there's chaos wherever Macho Man goes, and that is the beauty of Macho Man. That no matter what he's doing, where he's at, who he's fighting, insanity ensues. And when you add Ric Flair to that formula, woo, boy, you get two guys that just know how to work the crowd and work the situation without overblowing it, and it's incredible.
Yep. And they work with each other, which is the whole friggin' point.
Yeah. So the next one I had on my list, I'm just going to get it out of the way. Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker. As we're sitting here with the resurgence of Shawn Michaels, late career Shawn Michaels is the best Shawn Michaels, unless you go back and watch Shawn Michaels in the AWA as a solo performer, where he's a mat technician. It's crazy to watch. But this, again, the storytelling that Shawn and the Undertaker pull off in this match of good versus evil, and it's one of the few times where you're watching an Undertaker WrestleMania match and you're going, this could legitimately end the streak. You don't have that feeling when you watch Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez or Undertaker versus Batista. You don't have it. You like, okay, Undertaker's going to chew him up, spit him out, roll right on through. So Shawn Michaels made you believe that this was it for the Undertaker.
Yeah, there's some legit drama in that match, and also just over the top theatrics that I just really liked. I hadn't thought of that one. That's a good one. That didn't make my list. I guess I got 22 on my list. Let's see. All right, cool. Well, I'll pick another Shawn Michaels one. The one with Kurt Angle from WrestleMania 21, which there's every damn WrestleMania he's in. Kurt Angle stole a show. He's just one of those guys. But that match in particular was super dramatic, because it's sort of the sports entertainer, the Mr. WrestleMania thing for Michaels versus obviously the shooter for Kurt. And there's just, man, that was a good match.
We always have this. We were both always drawn to the shooters, the guys that can do it for real and make it look real. Like that's the best that there is out there. So that, like, you're really like, wow, this is a real sporting event. These guys are really going at each other. In that match, they're selling up also that Shawn Michaels has never tapped out, and can Kurt Angle make him tap out? And Shawn Michaels, he spends forever in that ankle lock. Like, he's going to cripple him. He's going to break it. He's just going to rip his leg off at this point. And that match is definitely worthy of being on the list as well.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I'm going to stick with the Kurt Angle here.
Okay, and let me guess. Is it Benoit?
Yes, Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit, WrestleMania 17.
Yeah,
those guys, boy, they go at it. And what I loved about that match is that they would go technical, and then when they would match each other, they would just start punching and chopping each other, and then they'd go back to the technical, get frustrated, and go back to fighting with each other again, just throwing blows and getting dirty. And that really made such great storytelling that, like, Chris Benoit goes toe to toe with the Olympic champion. You know, it's incredible work that they do in that match.
Yeah, and the other thing I like is that there's sort of the face off of submission moves, right? Because Benoit's got his crossface and Angle's got the ankle lock.
Yeah.
There's so much back and forth in that one. It's I wrote down it was 14 minutes and 10 seconds and pretty damn near perfection. So good one. Okay, so speaking of shoots, and this is a non-WrestleMania match, but we can jump back. I'm going to just name check that Mike Rotunda versus Rick Steiner match again.
Yeah.
From Chi-Town Rumble 89. Two legit guys, two legit shooters, just in there, just having the time of their lives, just beating the fuck out of each other.
Stretching and twisting. There's a lot of pulled ligaments happening in that match.
So ballpark it. What do what's the percentages on shoot versus work for that match? Is it 50-50? Is it like, I was thinking like 60-40 shoot to work.
I was thinking probably like 80-20 shoot to work. Like, they're shooting, but they're not actually, they know that they could push an extra inch in each one of those holds and like really hurt the guy, but they don't want to do that kind of thing. But it's a mutual respect kind of thing that's happening in that match. And it's a dandy to watch. And then also that involves Kevin Sullivan threatening Scott Steiner's dog, and like where did that come from? Like, suddenly Kevin Sullivan's on the microphone. I have your dog.
Random.
Okay, don't steal his dog. Don't hurt it, you sick bastard. So
I think one of the best things too about that match is that neither of us were expecting it, right?
No,
like,
it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, we're just watching along, and oh my god, what is happening?
Yeah.
So
I have one more WrestleMania match,
and
it's probably up there with the storytelling, and that's going to be Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 8. They're two faces. Piper's still working a little heelish because that's just who he is. And they're telling this great story of how, Bret grew up with Roddy Piper. They're cousins, basically, and they're family, and they know each other. But, like, Roddy's doing this, like, a little bit of, like, backhanded insults of, like, he's just a kid. He doesn't know what he's doing. He can't handle me. He can't handle this business and stuff like that. And you get this, like, it's like the one time that you ever see Bret Hart like being dwindled and pushed down by people. Like, he's being bullied kind of by this, and he needs to fight his way out of the shadow and really take the spotlight. And then you get this dramatic moment to where, how much does Roddy Piper want to win, to where he's standing over Bret holding the ring bell while the ref is knocked out, and he could brain Bret with that bell and just finish him and get the win. But then he knows it's not the right thing to do to someone that's family-ish. And so he decides not to, and he ends up losing the match.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's one of the all-time greats. If you care about wrestling at all, that's just one of the ones you just got to watch. I had a couple of other Bret Harts. I had his King of the Ring showing against Diesel 94, which we talked about. And I had Bret versus Shawn from the Survivor Series 97, because everything up until the screw job is just one hell of a match. And it's kind of a shame that it ends the way it does, because the rest of it is just so amazing. It's kind of the end of the trilogy between those two.
Yeah.
Any other honorable mentions? Any other on the non-WrestleMania matches you wanted to mention?
Yeah, so I got a bunch of non-WrestleMania, 3 more non-WrestleMania matches. So I mean, there's still one WWF match on my non-WrestleMania matches, and that's Ric Flair versus Tito Santana from the Battle Royal at Royal Albert Hall. Those guys put on a clinic, and that's another one of those matches to where, if you're going to open a wrestling school, that's one of the matches you make them watch on the first day. Like, this is this is how you do it. You have two technicians, but they have two totally different characters. Ric Flair is kind of slick, and Tito is a very, very hot-headed, very angry. He quickly will come to blows. You do one thing to dirty him, and he gets angry, and he'll start fighting dirty with you. And these two guys, they really throw down, and it's a spectacular match.
Yeah, that was a good one. I had flagged that one too. That's another one that's kind of I didn't expect. We put on that Royal Albert Hall show, thinking the main event is the Royal Rumble at the end, and there's Tito and Ric Flair going at it midway. I also had, speaking of Ric Flair, non-WrestleMania, his epic performance in the '92 Royal Rumble, where he starts out like number one, number two,
It's number 2, yeah,
and just goes for like whatever it is, 50 some minutes. That's an incredible one.
That's a masterpiece. Yeah, I mean, the '92 Royal Rumble match is like a Renaissance painting of professional wrestling come alive. It's got everything in it, and I've actually flagged that as one of my best gimmick matches. We can talk about that later. Another non-WrestleMania favorite match was the Ricky Steamboat versus Ric Flair at Wrestle War 89.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one over their Chi-Town Rumble match, because that one features Ricky Steamboat jumping from the floor to the apron and then climbing up the middle of the ropes like a ladder without using his hands. I've never seen anybody do that since or before. It blows my mind.
Yeah,
someone that agile to do it, and I'm talking like luchadors. I've watched a lot of Lucha Libre, and I've never seen any of them be able to do it either. Like Rey Fenix might be able to do something like that, but he's in a straight off hustle run chasing Ric Flair, and he does that and catches Ric Flair.
yeah.
That spot, it just
Both of those matches, the Chi-Town Rumble 89 and Wrestle War 89, are both just absolute classics.
Yeah.
There's a third match. It's on is it a Super Brawl?
It's a Clash of the Champions, actually. It's on free TV, I think.
Yeah, we need to watch that one of these days.
Yeah, that's the one where I think they go it's like an hour long. So get the catheter.
I had a couple of honorable mentions. Beautiful Bobby Eaton versus Brad Armstrong is one that kind of caught us by surprise on Wrestle War 91, on our most recent episodes.
Yeah.
In terms of just spectacle and WTF, the Sting versus Vader with Harley Race White Castle of Fear strap match from Super Brawl 3 is just
my White Castle of Fear.
Fucking bananas.
Where are we?
And I also shout out to the Legend of the Earth, Bubba Iron Sheik, for him and Nikolai Volkov versus the U.S. Express, Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda, taking the tag titles at WrestleMania 1 and just not even backing down from the heat, just spitting on the flag and
oh god, yeah,
the rain of trash and just man, all-time legends.
I had one more match to throw in there, and it's going to come out of left field on you probably.
All right.
Or maybe not. But it's Macho Man versus the Dynamite Kid from the Wrestling Classic.
Yeah.
Those two guys, they just go and go and go, and then suddenly there is the craziest finish of a superplex, but he catches the leg halfway down, like in midair, keeps him in the cradle, and Macho Man pulls off the win. It's incredible.
Bananas. Yeah. I actually went back through the Wrestling Classic and tried to see if there were any in there to flag. And I remember that finish, obviously, but like there's so many other matches on that card that I couldn't.
Yeah, it's tough.
I couldn't remember. So is that it for me? Oh, and The Rock versus Hulk Hogan, I think, is maybe one of the more emotional ones.
Yeah.
Along with that Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels. It's just one of those just fabulous storytelling, big moment, handled really, really well. So shout out to that. Anyway.
Let's jump to the future, or current times, I guess.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
And so like our best matches of this year that we watched.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a random one for you. I picked Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch from SummerSlam.
Yeah, That was
Especially
good.
impressive as Becky Lynch finishes that match with her, like, shoulder separated,
Yeah.
kind of just hanging off to the side.
Yeah. That was a good match. Yeah, I like that one.
How's it going?
And I'll catch you right on back. I have one of my favorites was Logan Paul versus Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel.
Yeah.
You know, I love that match. I don't like that I love it, but I do. Logan Paul is, you know, I feel the same way as Jim Cornette. Like I didn't want to like him, but the dude clearly takes it seriously. He's clearly working. He understands what's going on, and it's legit for him. And that was my main concern, that it wasn't that he would get in and make it a joke kind of thing. And like I was like, oh, that's the last thing they need. But the dude works. The
Yeah.
dude comes out, and he, like that first match where he's tagged with the Miz, he looked better than the Miz in that match. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh. And like I believe I even messaged you and was like, they're going to give him a title shot very soon. And I was right. I finally got one right. But no.
No, he's good. He's out. Yeah, I'll rep for him. And I, I really, I don't like the internet celebrity thing. I don't think influencer is a real job. Like, I hate that this guy's famous for whatever the fuck he does. I don't know, he makes YouTube videos or what, I don't know. But I'm glad that they found a talent, who can actually
Yeah.
do athletic stuff, who can talk, who can sort of be a heel and like be a real character. Yeah, it's been a nice surprise, honestly.
So I'll pivot from there to another match that really caught us off guard. And we both watched this live, and that was Dante Martin versus Ray Phoenix.
Yeah. Oh my God.
On Dynamite. And that was the best match of that night. Like, it stuck in my mind so much that when we met Dante Martin, I told him, I loved your match with Ray Phoenix on Dynamite like 5 months ago. That was incredible. Like, yeah, that was one of the best matches of the year for me, I think.
Yeah, he's really impressive. I hope to God he doesn't hurt himself. He bounces around a lot, and it worries me.
Yeah, like his brother there, that's constantly, he comes back, he gets hurt, comes back and gets hurt. Yeah. I hope he can pull it together, but Dante is getting the shine because of it. So
yeah, no, he's great. Nice kid too. I met him at one of the shows, and he was just so nice and just appreciative of. I told him I really liked the work he was doing, and just keep at it.
Yeah, for real.
The fuck am I? Yeah. Well, let me hop back to WWE for just a sec. I also really enjoyed the Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins Hell in a Cell match, where Cody comes out with his
one arm,
pectoral muscle torn off.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable, but very real and dramatic. Cody is, whatever you think about him, I think he's a star,
Yeah, he's going to get there. I mean, I have a feeling that if they're just pivoting with Roman Reigns until Cody's healthy, and Cody's going to take at least one of the belts off of him.
Yeah, I would support that. All right, let's get back to AEW for a sec. So I'll pick one of those. I had the CM Punk versus MJF dog collar match.
I had that one on the list as well.
From Revolution.
Yeah.
That was great, bloody match. Lots of nice sort of nods to kind of classic wrestling in that one.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated. CM Punk I like a lot. I think his work is not nearly as fast or as smooth as it was obviously 10 years ago, but he's sort of like adapted his style to kind of make it work for him,
Yeah.
And I thought that match was actually a good solution to kind of his limitations and letting him compete with a much younger, much more athletic guy in a way that made sense.
Yeah, I like CM Punk as well, and I'm still to the point to where I think the CM Punk drama right now is a work. How have they not just gotten rid of him? Are you kidding me? How is he still under contract with AEW if this is not a work?
I don't know, man.
Anyways, that's we don't need to get into that, but you have a problem employee, a so-called problem employee that just aired all your dirty laundry and talked shit about the executive vice presidents in front of the press, and you don't just fire him the next day, pay whatever severance you have to get him out of the company. or do you hold on to him for 3 months while he's also injured? Anyways, because it's a great way to build heat, and they used the whole MJF quitting angle, to establish him and put him in the championship role, and he's going to have a great title run. Anyways, another match of the year for me is going to be Gunther versus Ricochet from the June 10th SmackDown.
Yeah.
Where Gunther gets the recognition that he deserves with the Intercontinental title.
Yeah, those guys have had a couple of really great matches, including one just a couple of weeks ago. Maybe last week, actually.
Yeah, I think it's this past week they were on SmackDown, right?
And Ricochet did not get the belt back, unfortunately. I was rooting for him, but they had a great match. And that June one was really solid. Those guys are really talented. We liked Ricochet a lot when he was Prince Puma in Lucha Underground. Gunther had some all-timers with Ilya in NXT, where you just beat the fuck out of each other.
Yeah. Oh my God, that match with Ilya Dragunov. Oh, good God. I actually wanted to put that on my list, but it happened in December of 2021, so it did not count. Yeah, I was very sad. But I think my favorite match of the year, though, completely is going to be them boys, the Briscoes versus FTR at the Ring of Honor Supercard. That first match.
Mm-hmm.
That first match was hella awesome.
Was that the 2 out of 3 falls, or was that different?
That was the first one. The first one was just a straight up, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was. I mean, all 3 of them were good. I felt like the last one, the double dog collar match, was a little overdone. But yeah, I would agree that first one was the best, like sort of pure.
Yeah.
Pure wrestling.
You know me, match. I like pure. I like the purity. Yeah. So. Yeah, that match had the storytelling, it had the drama, it had surprises, it had scamming, it had everything in it. It has everything that you want out of it. It has good mat work, it has good aerial work, it has hot tags. It's Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was fantastic. All right, I got one more, and it was it's not as good as that, but it's from All Out AEW. It was Swerve in Our Glory versus the Acclaimed. The first time when the Acclaimed did not take the title.
When they should have taken the title.
They should have taken the title, yeah. But just the way the fans were into that one and sort of pushing the action. Yeah. And those guys just freaking went at it. And that was one of those that, like, I was legit surprised at the ending. I also really liked during the media scrum when everybody just kept asking Swerve and Keith Lee about whether the booker should have changed the finish mid-match because it was so clear that everybody wanted the Acclaim to win, and which is sort of an insulting thing to add.
Yeah. Do you feel like you screwed up?
Yeah. I feel like you're maybe not as good at wrestling as your opponents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I had when you first pitched the idea, let's talk about our favorite matches we watched this year, I had a hard time kind of thinking about, because so much of what's on week to week is just so terrible. And that was kind of like all I could think of at first, is how terrible everything is.
Yeah.
But then I went back and looked at the cards for those AEW pay-per-views and the Ring of Honor pay-per-views and the WWE ones. I even liked, I'll throw this out there, I even liked the Iron Survivor Challenge matches from the last NXT pay-per-view.
Those were good. Yeah, the Deadline, those matches were good. I liked them a lot more than I expected to.
Yeah.
Damn it, Shawn Michaels. Damn it again. You did something else that I liked. Like,
stop making me respect you. I just want to hate you.
Damn it. Yeah.
Did you pick any worst matches that we watched this year? Like, not this year, but in the course of the podcast?
All of those, I mean, I just want to lump them all together, like the Playboy Diva pillow fight matches. Those are god awful. All of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
That's what I wrote down. I wrote anything involving evening gowns or Playboy pillow fights or bikinis.
Or the Miller Lite girls on mattress, like with Coachman and Stacy Keibler. They're all awful. They brought down their shows. They brought them down.
I also wrote down any triple threat, fatal 4-way, or non-Survivor Series match involving more than 4 participants. I ain't got time for it.
Yeah.
with the exception of the War Games from 91, maybe.
And even when you look at a War Games match on paper and you look at the rules and how it works, you're like, God damn it, this is going to be this. How is this good? And it's like the same feeling with those Survivor Challenge matches that they did on NXT, and then they're fucking good. Damn it, I don't like. How did Dusty Rhodes see that the War Game matches were actually going to be good? How did that happen? Like, how did he luck out? They're like, trust me, the fans are going to be okay if two guys fight inside a double cage for 5 minutes before anyone else gets in there. It's like, no, because every 2 minutes, it's like a hot tag. It blows your mind. And like the crowd just gets excited and blows up. And it's the same thing that was happening in those Survivor Challenges. People were getting excited whenever they would come out of the penalty box. And then when there would be two guys in that penalty box, they would fight each other. That was incredible. I was like, okay, two guys are going to be in there. They better fight. They're fighting. Oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah, it was great. No, and that's a good point about the War Games is that initial 5 minutes is actually kind of smart because that's like the time in a tag match where you would like get the heat on one of the guys, right? And kind of build up the anticipation for the hot tag to come. So smart.
So while we're sitting here talking about best gimmick matches, we might as well talk about.
We're done with worst yet. I also wrote down anything involving Triple H.
Oh yeah.
Fuck the guy.
Oh god. Like zero charisma in the ring, it feels like. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gimmick matches. Hit me.
Yeah. Let's talk. So the first best gimmick match that we watched in this, I'm going to say, was the Andre the Giant versus Big John Studd Body Slam Challenge from WrestleMania 1. That was enjoyable and fun and worked really well. I thought that was good.
Yeah. And the finish of having him throw the money out of the bag.
Yeah. And Bobby Heenan freaking out.
It was really cool. Yeah. I also had a WrestleMania 1, Jake the Snake Roberts versus the Model, Rick Martel, in the blindfold match from WrestleMania 7.
Oh, yeah.
That was a lot of fun where the crowd sort of ends up helping them play hot and cold so they can find each other.
Yeah. And I also mentioned the 1992 Royal Rumble match itself earlier. That is one of the best, if not the best, Royal Rumble match there is in WWF history, in my opinion. And then Ric Flair going end to end with it. And through the entire thing, on the commentary of Bobby Heenan having a baby over like, oh my God, I can't believe my guy got number 2. He's so screwed. And like, he's just like, where's Flair? How's he doing? Where's Flair? Like through the whole match, he's like a nervous dad, and then the payoff on the end where like, Flair wins because Hogan and Vicious are bickering with each other. It's great, and it's the only thing that makes me sad is that Flair doesn't get the big celebration inside the ring with the belt after winning that Royal Rumble.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic Rumble. I agree. Probably the best one they ever did. Let's see. Here's one from left field. I had Little Mr. T and Cowboy Lang versus Lord Littlebrook and Little Tokyo. It's a little person's tag match from Wrestle Rock 86. And we talked about it on the show, like sort of like, yeah, it's a gimmick because it's like little people wrestling, but like those guys fucking go at it and like everything works. Everything's very smooth. Like there's some impressive spots. I don't know. I enjoyed that one.
I actually didn't put that under here. I actually listed that as one of my favorite tag matches. It's one of the best tag wrestling matches that we watched this in the course of this podcast, in my opinion.
Yeah, so it's good.
And then the only other best gimmick match that I mentioned, because most of the other ones were okay, is Tully Blanchard versus Magnum TA in the cage with the I Quit. The whole thing where like Tully's holding the microphone for Magnum TA to say he quits, and when he says no, he just starts pounding him with the microphone, and you get that sound of his head pinging off the microphone echoing through the arena. Amazing. And they bleed within 30 seconds of the match. People are hitting the cage, chairs are showing up suddenly inside the cage and stuff like that, and like it's beautiful. It's a great gimmick. It has great visuals. It has great audio because of there's a live microphone right in the ring. You get a lot of great storytelling in that match too. So even though it is a gimmick, it is just a great match too.
I didn't put it on my favorite gimmicks, but I did put it on my bloodiest matches list.
Yeah, it is the bloodiest match.
I had a couple of other gimmicks that I actually kind of enjoyed, and they're all from late WrestleManias. So Akebono versus the Big Show in the sumo match from WrestleMania 21, I thought was actually done fairly well. This is a random one. JBL versus Finlay with Hornswoggle in the Belfast Brawl from WrestleMania 24. And what I learned from that one is you don't want to piss off Finlay because that guy will just beat the fuck out of you for real.
You should listen to Stone Cold's interview of William Regal. William Regal talks quite a bit about how much Finlay was a shooter in English wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
He would just beat the crap out of people.
You can tell he's like a legit tough guy.
And he just loves doing it. So
yeah. Floyd Money Mayweather versus the Big Show in a no DQ match in WrestleMania 24 was also just an amazing spectacle.
Yeah.
Floyd Mayweather's like posse, his whatever you want to call him, like just hamming it up. Everything about that match is a good time. And then the last one is the Chris Jericho versus Jimmy Snuka, Ricky Steamboat, and Roddy Piper with Ric Flair handicap elimination match from WrestleMania 25. If you remember, the premise there was that Chris Jericho was insulting all the old guys, telling them he could whoop them all. He would take them all on. And, some of the, Roddy Piper does okay. Jimmy Snuka doesn't do a whole lot. But the main takeaway from that one was find out that Ricky Steamboat could still fucking go.
Yeah. Oh my God. He had wheels. He could do it. He like skinned the cat from the outside of the ring. And he threw himself over the top rope to the outside on top of Jericho. Like, dude, you're going to break a hip. Like, take it easy, man. But that was a stupendous match, and was probably one of my honorable mentions. But that Tully versus Magnum match was.
We like anything involving Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah, we'll take anything Ricky Steamboat.
Well, since you mentioned that cage, you want to hit the bloodiest matches? Did you make any lists?
That one is the one that really sticks out. Besides, like the War Games match. The War Games where like there's actually bloodstains on the cage. And every single match on Starrcade 85, The Gathering, also had blood. I think everybody bled except for like Crusher Khrushchev and Sam Houston. I don't think there was blood in that. But then after that, hepatitis for everybody.
I actually wrote down 3 from that same event: the Manny Fernandez versus Abdullah the Butcher.
God, there's so much blood
in the Mexican death match. That one made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Ron Bass versus Black Bart in a Texas bull rope match is super bloody. And then Tully and Magnum. And then the only other one I wrote down is a current one. That was the FTR versus Briscoe's double dog collar match from the Ring of Honor Final Battle just a week or 2 ago. That one maybe bordered on too much blood.
I love that match with Manny Fernandez and Abdullah the Butcher. And it's funny that I've been listening to old Stone Cold interviews where he's talking to wrestlers, and he was recently interviewing Vampiro, and Vampiro talks about how much influence Abdullah, called Abby apparently by everybody in the business, Abdullah the Butcher is influential on like so many people that like a lot of wrestlers go to him, like newer wrestlers like of Vampiro's generation and Stone Cold's generation would go to Abdullah the Butcher for advice, and like he would guide them through things and like how to handle their careers and stuff like that. I thought that was fascinating to hear that, like, and like Stone Cold even starts talking about, I talk to Abby all the time and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what? Okay. I did not have Abdullah the Butcher up there in my list of like great wrestling minds, but apparently he is. And I mean, it makes sense. He's like one of the most violent wrestlers and not in the greatest shape, but he's alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody who put the reps in, right?
So somebody that knew how to like, make a fork look absolutely deadly. And like Vampiro was talking about like how Abdullah would position the fork in his tights just right so that the crowd could see it, but the ref wouldn't see it. And the crowd could tell that the ref couldn't see it. And so that it was like all these like mind tactics that Abdullah the Butcher would use that doesn't really translate well on TV, but for live crowds worked incredibly well, and that was like the thing that like Abdullah the Butcher apparently specializes in doing, and that's just I didn't have him on my bingo card. That's
Yeah. Well, maybe we should look and see if there's like a Abby compilation tape out there or something.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. Just get sick from watching so many people bleed.
Yeah. Did you make any other lists? I made a most WTF moment one, sort of like just kind of random oddball moments, including the dramatic interludes with Sting and the White Castle of Fear. Where he's like in a helicopter and he's in a tracksuit and he's like, "What's going on?"
Yeah,
like
every
that
one of them. This like it's only like 6 seconds long, and he's just like, "Where am I? Why am I here? What is this?" Like, and then like there's a lady in a bikini and it's snowing, and like,
Yeah.
and then there's Vader and his like weird elephant robot mask thing with the glowing eyes and the steam, and then Harley Race dressed like Colonel Sanders laughing. Like, what the fuck fever dream is this?
It's pure nightmare fuel. That's where I have like 8.5 old fashions and then try to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So
I made a list of my favorite promos.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't do that one, but go ahead.
One, I loved Ricky Steamboat and his chubby baby.
Chubby baby.
His little baby. And like, I'm fighting for my family, blah, 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 blah. And then WrestleMania 8, Mr. Perfect. Shut up, Mooney. Apparently, so like I've been watching more from that era, and we have other wrestlers also telling Mooney to shut up, including we both just watched spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about this Tuesday in Texas soon on an episode, and in that, Macho Man tells Mooney to shut up at one point. So that's always appreciative. So you see Mooney being told to shut up all the time. And then probably my favorite one that we watched was Ric Flair after winning the 92 Royal Rumble, where he talks about that, like, he's now where he's the best champion. Now he's got the real championship belt, like total shots at WCW and Jim Crockett Promotions, like, for firing him and kicking him out, and then he's come over and he's won the real world championship, and he's the real man, and he lands the, if you want to be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo! And then walks away. Like, it's and he's got blood running down his face. Like, it's everything. It's probably one of my favorite Ric Flair moments ever, and it's probably my favorite promo that we've watched in the course of doing this podcast.
Yeah, no, that's a solid one. I didn't make a list. This Tuesday in Texas, though, which maybe will be our first episode of 2023, has like, I don't know, 5 or 6 all-time greats, like in the space of an hour and a half special. So hang in for that one. That's a really solid one. So let's see, what else do we do here? I think that's about it in terms of the wrestling.
There was one more promo that just came to mind.
Sorry, go ahead.
And that was the end of the one, was it maybe the end of Full Gear, where suddenly the lights go out and then the voicemail of MJF playing with Tony Khan saying, "We'll pay you whatever you want. Please come back," and then tape, and then his music hits, and I was like, good, that's real good.
That was nice. Yeah, I agree. That was a lot of fun. So MJF and I made a list of sort of my favorite performers, that I've seen in the course of this year, and MJF and FTR both made my list from sort of the current crop of AEW. I put the Acclaimed on there as well. They're a lot of fun to watch, and it's just been fun to kind of see their own almost like self-created push. Like, they just did it through, I don't know, just sheer force of personality, maybe.
Yeah, they are homebrew. They got themselves over with catchphrases and pop culture references and the rapping. Like, at first the rapping was like, oh, this is tired and old hat, but then the raps were pretty good, and then people got into them, and that hooked people in real quick when you make good jokes.
Do you have a favorite episode that we recorded this year?
I really enjoyed putting together the Montreal Screwjob 97 Survivor Series episode, just because, one, it's a huge moment in professional wrestling. It's one of my favorite moments in all of professional wrestling, involving my favorite performer from professional wrestling. And there's just so many like twists and things that you can bury your head in and obsess on, that it satisfies that like research bug in my head, that like I can look into this. There's documentary, there's outside footage of things happening, and then there's backstory, and there's in-ring story, there's out-of-ring story. You can't tell what's real and what's fake. It's, I think, and then putting all that together and getting to talk about it for as long as we did was a lot of fun and very enjoyable.
Yeah, that was a good one. I enjoyed that too. And that show ended up being a lot more fun than I remembered to watch. So that was pretty cool. I think maybe one of my favorites was the Demolition profile, and it was just sort of fortunate timing. And we just happened to meet those guys, and they were like super cool. But then I really sort of enjoyed doing the research. I felt, I was back in grad school again, kind of combing through a bunch of different stories and reading all about Mr. Darso and Mr. Eadie, talking about how they got to where they were as, maybe one of the greatest tag teams of all time in WWF, and sort of where their careers were before and then after that. So that one was very cool. And we should also just make the plug that we usually do, which is that Demolition belong in the Hall of Fame, and the fact that they're not in there is a crime.
Class of 2023 or bust, damn it. Put them in.
Get them
Put
in there.
them in. Just get the fuck over it. I mean, maybe now that Triple H is calling the shots and not Vince, so maybe that'll be the difference.
Maybe.
Demolition didn't sue Triple H, so
yeah, maybe
they were being shunned before they sued. So if you got to put in Billy Eadie and Barry Darso as two separate performers, both of them have the credentials to be in there. Solo, so do it.
Masked Superstar for Eadie, and put him as Repo Man. Put the Repo Man in there,
or Crusher Khrushchev.
Yeah.
And just fucking do it. Just fucking put Demolition in. Get over it.
No.
He will destroy you. Yeah.
They should go in for their theme music alone.
I know.
So, all right. Our shout out to our best favorite guest host, our only guest host, but that's okay. She's still our favorite. It's Dr. Jess Krennic. That's at Wrestle Academic on Twitter. She's on the episodes for WrestleMania 25 and Royal Rumble 96. She was a lot of fun, brought some much needed academic knowledge and non-dudeness to the show, so we appreciate her. And shout out to the best fan of 2022. That would be Nick. Nick found us on Facebook, and he is a big fan of the show. He enjoys listening, sending us show requests. So some of the stuff that we did this year, including the Smack 'em Whack 'em tape, the Royal Rumble. Did he pick the Royal Rumble he picked another one that we did not too long ago.
Yeah.
I think this Tuesday in Texas was one of Nick's requests.
WrestleMania 7 and 8 were also requested by him. So thank you, Nick. We appreciate all your feedback and your comments and chatting us up. It's great. We love fan interaction.
Yeah. So I should hit those again just in case. It's at WrestleMania Pod on Twitter. All the WrestleManias at gmail.com, all the WrestleManias.com, of course, all your favorite podcast apps, and Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikToks, probably some new things. Friendster, are we on Friendster?
No, but we're probably going to have to get on Mastodon. I think that's the new thing that's coming out, right?
Yeah,
that's the new.
Twitter's dying. I might as well make the switch.
Yeah. So, well, before we wrap, though,
yeah,
and we do our in memoriam, I just want to say thank you, Tim, for being willing to do this with me. This podcast has been, I don't want to go as far as saying a lifesaver, but something very helpful for me to focus a lot of my creative energies and stuff like that. So as I've mentioned on the show before and in my bio on the website, I was a music performance major in college, and I've always had a creative bug and not necessarily the proper outlets for it. And I also have a performance bug, and that definitely doesn't get itched much anymore, especially as it seems that my trumpet playing days are in twilight right now, and that's okay. but having an outlet for me to be able to compose music, do shitty graphic design.
You do excellent graphic design.
To push out weird commentary and to give me also that itch to do research and stuff like that. Like, this has become like a perfect storm for me, and has helped me a great deal, especially coming out of the pandemic and becoming a dad, giving me extra something else to focus on, to remind me that I'm still a full person, and that I have likes and things that I enjoy. And that includes wrestling, writing music, playing music, and doing weird graphic design stuff. I appreciate your patience and willingness to do this with me.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. And I'm glad it's been so helpful for you. I appreciate all the work that you do on the editing side. Like, so at this point, my job is much more demanding than it was when we started. So I don't get quite to do quite as much of the show as I would like. So, obviously I'm watching the programs, I'm taking notes, I'm doing the recording here with Rich, but he's doing almost everything else, including most of our social media presence, the website, posting the new episodes, doing all the editing, writing and recording the music, doing the graphic designs, and constantly experimenting with ways to get the show out there where folks might see it and find it. And I think, we're not we're not Jim Cornette, but we've had some pretty good success at kind of finding some little pockets of listeners, which I think is due in large part to the work that you've done. So I appreciate all that. So we'll talk just in a second about what's ahead for 2023, but as we always do, we like to take a moment to pay tribute to the men and women that are no longer with us. Now, we're not going to run down all of the in memoriams for all of the shows that we watched this year, because we'd be here for another 20 minutes. But some of the talents that we lost in 2022, and there were some big ones, so I just want to mention them by name. Of course, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall has to be at the top of our list. Referee Dave Hebner, referee Tim White, one of the great Japanese wrestlers, promoters, just brilliant wrestling businessmen of all time, Antonio Inoki, and Gene LaBelle, who's a legit judo guy, just one of those guys who was around the business for a long, long time. We lost all of those folks in 2022. All right, so what's ahead for 2023? I have a couple of notes. I hope we can get Dr. Jess back on the show, of course. I'd like to experiment with some more guests on the show. We'll get the Turtle War guys over here. I've met quite a few folks down here in Norfolk who have been wrestling fans way back and have seen some just, absolute stars, Flair and Wahoo McDaniel and all the old guys. So I'd love to maybe find some of those folks to come and chat with us about some of their wrestling memories. I think that would be really cool. And we're obviously going to be working our way through more WrestleManias. So we finished 9 in sequence this year, plus 3 old ones that we backtracked to catch. So we'll kind of keep chugging away at those. We've been trying to get one WrestleMania a month, I think, right?
Yeah, here or there. Once we cut back from weekly to bi-weekly, that's kind of slowed down the WrestleMania march and made it more like once a month. But like every 4th show, we're trying to do a WrestleMania. So we're also going to be. We've talked a couple times now already. This Tuesday in Texas will probably be the one that will kick off the new year for us. There's still another episode of classical music's influence on professional wrestling. That one's a little darker. It'll probably come out at some point when I'm either too busy with my job or Tim is too busy with his job, because we're coming into my busy season here of the legislative session in Maryland, where basically life stops so that for 90 days politicians can do their stuff.
Yeah. Well, so we should get through. Yeah, then we should get through at least 6 WrestleMania. So that'll get us to 31, and then that'll give us an opportunity to do another retrospective. So we did 11 to 20, so we can do 21 to 30 this year as well, probably.
Yeah, and we will hopefully I would like to do WrestleMania 3 with the Turtle Wars guys. Hopefully this is your formal invite to watch WrestleMania 3 and contact Tim to when you want to record, and we will watch WrestleMania 3 and we can all sit down and talk about it and talk about how Ricky Steamboat and Macho Man steal the show and Hulk Hogan gaslights us some more.
Maybe I can talk Jackie into letting the guys come over here. We can just watch it here. Maybe we could Zoom you in while we're watching. We'd all kind of watch together. It might be fun.
Yeah, and there was an idea that where I was been kicking around in my head where I haven't talked to you about this yet, but thinking about maybe when we record, we broadcast it live on Twitch, maybe.
Ooh.
See if we can make that work.
Does that give us money? Does people pay us to do that?
Potentially.
Okay. Sure. I like money.
Yeah, money's good.
Yeah. The only other thing that I put down is I'd like to dig some more into some of our favorites and some of the performers and some of the performers we maybe don't know as well. I think this year I saw maybe more Road Warriors than I had seen before. Barry Windham, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson. I'd like to maybe even go back a little bit farther, see if there's some stuff out there from like the late 70s, early 80s, sort of pre like major rise of WWF.
Yeah, there's some old WCCW shows from Texas with Von Erichs that I would like to, that are sitting on Peacock buried, that I wouldn't mind poking into. There's a whole lot of WWF old school. I don't know if you've dug through that. There's some incredible stuff in there that would be great to watch. It's all like there's like hardly any metadata attached to them, but I watched one of them that like had tons of stuff on it, like it had a Junkyard Dog versus Greg the Hammer Valentine match in there. Yeah. So right. I think that would be something to dig into. And they're just like listed by, it was the January 25th show from the Boston Garden. Like, oh, okay. And you turn it on and there's this amazing card, so I think those would be fun to dig into possibly.
Well, we're librarians, so we can find some more information about the shows, I'm sure, if there's not enough metadata out there.
Yeah, I'm sure someone on Reddit's actually probably pieced it all together because that's what people on Reddit do. So
thank you, Reddit people.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're ready to wrap up 2022 and for old acquaintance, should old acquaintance be forgotten, all that stuff. So we, again, thanks very much for listening, everybody. I'm your co-host, Tim.
And I'm Rich.
And we will see you in 2023.